Many shades of pink and black health. Many shades of pink and black health, where good health equals long life. Welcome to the Many Shades of Pink and Black Health radio program on KBOKradio.com, sponsored by Many Shades of Pink. I'm your host, Wendy Sherrill, breast cancer survivor and advocate.
And I'm your co-host, Dr. Suzanne Afflalo. And we have the distinguished guest today, my nephew, Adam Afflalo, a physician assistant. And the topic today is Appreciate the Journey. So, and that was his topic.
Oh,
That's
okay.
his title that he chose.
That's a nice title.
So he can explain that to us. But Adam, tell us a little about, who you are and a little bit about your family.
All right. Well, thank you. Like she said, my name is Adam Afflalo. I'm a nephew of Dr. Afflalo. I grew up in San Diego. I'm a physician assistant, just graduated school a couple months ago from Torrey University in the Bay Area. Recently married, shout out to my wife, Michelle.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and now I'm back in San Diego as a PA, gonna look for a job in the health field, and yeah. Anything else?
Yeah, you got to dig back deeper.
Okay.
Because we're talking about, we want to go back to the childhood,
Okay.
like really it
Exactly.
started like
Do you have any siblings?
Okay, I should talk about
yeah.
that too. Yeah, so I have 2 younger brothers and 2 older sisters. One of my sisters passed away about 15 years ago now. My dad's in San Diego, my mom's in LA. Most of my my dad's side of the family's from Jamaica. I grew up in Jamaica for about 8 years of my life. And
8 years?
8 years.
Wow.
Yeah, grew up in Kingston.
That was neat. That was neat.
Yeah, no, it was a great experience. I think I was about 6 or 9 months old when I first went over there, and then coming back here when I was like 9 or 10 was definitely an adjustment, getting used to being an American again, and everything was different. The culture was different, the food was different, the people were different. But yeah, so it was a great experience being over there, then being back in the States, and yeah, now I'm here now.
All right.
Well, I didn't get to say welcome to the Many Shades of Pink and Black Health Radio Show. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me here. I'm excited to share my story and give some advice or whatever you guys need me to do here.
Right.
It's really just getting to know you more
Okay.
than anything.
Perfect.
So obviously, I have a passion and a very special place in my heart about Jamaica because I'm still a Jamaican citizen. So those 8 years, those formative years of your life, who was really the person that molded you in those 8 years? Because obviously you were away from your parents. I know that my brother, your father, Michael, and your mom sent you down to Jamaica along with your sister when you were 9 months, and she was a little over a year and a half. Mostly because the work schedules they had, they both worked at night in probation. That made it very difficult to take care of 2 young children, 2 toddlers in diapers.
Yeah.
So that's when they asked mommy to take on that role and sent you guys down to Jamaica. So what was that like for you?
It was a good question. So yeah, my grandmother, your mother, was the one who raised me in Jamaica.
Okay.
And that lady was a saint. She, I forgot, was she like 70 at the time?
Yeah,
or
78.
And,
Wow.
yeah.
At that age, and she took on, what, a 9-month-old and a toddler?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yes.
So there's a lot of, grandparents and aunts and uncles who step up, when parents can't really, raise their kids. So,
So I take it that your dad and your parents didn't have family here in the States, probably. Because I understand that because I was, same thing here. I was raised by my grandparents while my mom went to work, so the grandparents took care of the kids.
Exactly.
But you probably didn't have family like that in the States, so that's why they had to, the family was in Jamaica?
Yeah, well, I'm not quite sure how that whole process worked. I know from my dad, he really trusted my grandma, and so
Okay.
that's who he wanted to, you know, raise me, because he
Yeah.
knew she would do a good job.
Oh, yes.
And she did, you know, so shout out to her. Yeah, just like I was saying, so growing up in Jamaica, it was an amazing experience, you know, because everything there is more relaxed, you know. There's not, I'm not sure how it is now, but back when I was a kid, there's not all the hustle and bustle. Just you could just enjoy life,
Yeah.
and just take it for what it is. And everybody there is just so kind and nice and appreciative of just everything that's going on. And it helped me. She kind of gave me the foundation for you know, what I'm doing now, what I want to build. She was a nurse too, and she was very involved with her church there, and you know, she was always taking people into the house to try and help them out. And that's what it is in Jamaica. You know, you help out your friends, your family, whoever, just help them off the street. So yeah, so that's kind of the background I have from Jamaica.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So when you came up here, part of the reason why you actually were brought up here, otherwise you probably still would be there now, is actually mommy got ill. And so when we moved her up because of her illness, then obviously you and your sister had to come up. So when you got here, not quite knowing what to do, we ended up kind of separating you and your sister because you wanted to stay with grandma, and your sister wanted to go with her mom and her sister. She wanted to be with more girls. So that was part of that thing. So you guys separated a little bit, but you were at least able to stay with your grandmother for another, you know, 9 months or so.
Yeah, I remember, you know, when we first came to the States, I went to go live with my mom, and that was interesting too, because I was like 8 or 9 at the time, and I never lived with my mom, so that was like a whole new experience to get used to. And I think about a couple months into living with my mom is when we found out that the reason why we moved from Jamaica is because my grandma was sick. And I think originally, I don't know, somebody said she had dengue fever or something, I don't know, but then somebody told me, oh, she had cancer, and she only had a few months to live. So then, you know, I was, 9 at the time, so I had to try to wrap my head around, you know, this lady who raised me, who was my mother. You know, she only had a few months, so I just, you know, threw a fit, was crying, and then, then my mom sent me down to San Diego to live with you and my grandma for her last few months, and that was, you know, that was precious time that I can never get back, and I just appreciate being able to be with her the last few months that she had.
So when we say that during a certain periods of your life you moved around a lot, so tell us about your experience and how that impacted your life.
Yeah, I mean, I guess with that, you just got to be versatile because, you know, like we moved from Jamaica, and that was a big change for me. And then I moved with my aunt to San Diego. And then when my grandma passed, I moved back to Palmdale with my mom.
Okay.
And then then after, like, I was with her for about a year. Then I moved to San Diego with my dad. I was him for about a year. Then I moved with my aunt. And then I moved back with my dad, and then I moved back with my aunt. So it was like, it was a lot of change.
So you moved around a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just, you know, it was constant movement, and it was, I remember, I think I lived with my aunt, I guess, 3 different periods of my life, and I think the second time that I moved away from her, it was, I don't remember why it was, but I just remember, you know, my aunt was a little strict, and so going with my dad, I had a little more freedom, you know, to kind of run the streets, so maybe that's probably why I wanted to move, but, and then finally when I moved back with her in my high school, I think, you know, I was going into the 10th grade, or I was in the 9th grade, and I think I wanted a little more stability in my life at that point, so that's kind of what prompted that transition to go back
Right.
and live with her, but...
Okay, well,
it's a lot of movement.
it was a lot, but a lot of adjustments that had to be made.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And he's right, I was strict.
Yeah, she was, man.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
I can only imagine.
yeah, it was tough. I turned out all right.
Yeah. Despite all of that.
Yeah,
But I can obviously say the way how I raised him was really a continuation of how my mother raised us, which is she did not raise her voice, she did not curse or say any bad words, she did not raise a hand at us, and so, you know, I don't know, people can say that may not be the right way, but that was the way that worked for me, and that was the only way I knew how to raise a child, and so raising Adam, there wasn't any of that. I mean, he can say that there was certainly no yelling, no screaming, no cursing, anything like that. But yeah, if I told you that you need to do something, I would tell you what the consequences were. If you did this, then you're going to get that. And so, he pushed the envelope a little as a young man, and so he found that he had to open the envelope and take the punishment with it. And so, yeah, he was denied things like take the computer away, don't go over to friend's house, can't go to this party, all those types of things. Didn't get his attention too much because I still had to put some more punishment on him.
What I can say about that is just I remember with my dad and my mom used to get whoopings, a lot of whoopings, but with my aunt, she never, like she said, she never raised her voice, didn't whip me, but she did, say she was disappointed in me, and that goes a long way when you're a kid because you don't want to disappoint your parents, but yeah, that really put me on the straight line.
Yeah. So obviously you had a lot of back and forth, and adjusting to different households, different lifestyle, different structure and discipline and things like that. But when you actually when you and Zondi, I remember your sister's name is Alessandra, nicknamed Zondi, when you guys came down to actually finally live with us in San Diego again, you were close to 10 and Zondi was 11 going on 12, and you were staying with your dad right in Mission Valley, and you guys were going to Lewis Middle School, and so that was a challenge because your dad was working. You guys had to be at home by yourself in the afternoons, but then you'd come over to school where I worked across the street after school, or I would check on you. But then obviously there was a day and a time that changed your life, and you had just made 11 actually, and about a month prior, and it was your 12th birthday. It was Zonni's 12th birthday.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that day, because I feel like that's probably something that really changed your life.
Yeah.
And made a huge impact. So tell us a little bit about that, and we'll be able to at least discuss that before the break, and then we'll dive into it after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So January 21st, I believe January 21st, I believe 1999 is my sister's birthday. And we got up like every normal day, got ready for school, probably like 6 a.m. And usually my dad gave us like a quarter to like take the bus home after school. It was like, I think it was drizzling a little bit that day, so we were like, we don't want to walk in the rain to school, so we just take the bus to school. So we got on the bus, we got off the bus, and I remember talking to my sister, but she was excited because it was her birthday, and at school, you get free donuts on your birthday, so she's really excited about that. And then after that, I don't really recall the succession of incidents, but I remember we got off the bus. We started to cross the street. Then after that, I don't know what happened. I just remember waking up. I was on the ground. I'm just it felt like a dream. And then there's a guy standing over me, and then he told me we got hit by a car. And so I'm not sure how long I was unconscious for, but I was out for a little bit. And then I woke up, and then the ambulance wasn't there yet, but they were on their way, and he was kind of like trying to talk me through stuff and keep me calm. And then I remember him, I remember asking him, "What, were you the one who hit us?" And he was like, "No, I was just the first on the scene." And then I remember like looking around. I was still on the ground, couldn't really move that much, but I remember looking around for my sister to see if she was okay. And when the paramedics arrived, I remember asking her if she's, where's my sister? She's okay. And they were kind of being vague about it. They're like, "Oh, she's over there," and they weren't really giving me any answers. And I wasn't really putting two and two together at that time. But looking back, I could see why they were hesitant to like say anything about her, because she had some brain damage from the impact of the car, and so they didn't really want to get too much into that at that point when I'm laying on the ground. So after that, they took us to the hospital, and I had a broken leg, and I remember lying in my bed. This, a couple hours later, I remember lying in my bed, and my leg is just throbbing. And I remember my aunt and my dad coming in to kind of tell me, what happened with my sister. And I remember just breaking down because they told me she passed away.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was heavy for an 11-year-old to have to deal with.
That is truly something that is tragic. And to actually experience that so young and at 11, and probably just not really understanding
exactly
to what this took place and to the extent how did she die.
Yeah.
So I know that we'll dive more deeper into it because I'm interested because I've had a lot of tragedy as well. So I want to touch base on that.
Right.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and take our break now. So you're listening to the Many Shades of Pink and Black Health radio program on KBLK Radio, and we'll be right back after this break.
I'm tired of seeing Black and brown women dying. They tend to have breast cancer that's more aggressive. They are at a 41% higher risk of mortality because we're identifying breast cancer at a later stage. Komen is here for women of color.
We are providing free mammograms.
It's important that the women of color get their mammograms, get treated, and save their lives. We are more than pink.
Welcome back to the Many Shades of Pink and Black Health Radio program on KBLKradio.com, sponsored by Many Shades of Pink. I'm your host, Wendy Sherrill, breast cancer survivor and advocate.
And I'm your co-host, Dr. Suzanne Afflalo, and our guest today is Adam Afflalo, a physician assistant. And our topic today is Appreciate the Journey. So before our break, we had just touched on that tragic experience that you and Zondi had with the accident. I want to fill in the audience a little bit because I know from an 11-year-old perspective that it was so overwhelming. But it was just as overwhelming for your dad and I when we got the call at 6-something in the morning saying that you guys had been hit. I was getting ready to go to work at Kaiser, and your dad called me in hysterics, crying, and I couldn't get anything out of him. I went straight to him, picked him up, went up to the scene, but I can tell you that on the way to pick him up, I passed by, okay, I'm going east, and 2 ambulances are going west on Friars, and not knowing that, not knowing what had happened, not knowing that you guys were in those ambulances, I went to pick him up and went to the scene. When we got to the scene, everyone was around there. We're trying to ask questions, what happened, what's going on.
So this happened in San Diego?
You're right up the street on Waring and near Zion, up on
like Allied Gardens.
Allied Gardens
area.
on Waring Road. Yeah.
Wow.
It's just a crosswalk where the kids have to cross over Waring Road, a very busy street, to get over to their middle school, Lewis Middle School. And my understanding when my brother and I went up to that place, that we asked, what's going on, what happened, and a lot of people were saying that several kids had been hit at that corner and nothing had ever been done. But I can say, and we only know at the end of it all that, by the grace of God, that it took Zondi's death to finally put a light there to save lives after that. So we never know why our loved ones are taken.
Yes.
But first they tried putting a stop sign there, and people kept just burrowing through there. They would run the stop sign. So it actually took the city having to put a stop light in there in order to make sure that there were no other children that would die.
Yeah, so it basically took someone's life, a child.
Yes. Yeah.
For them to do something about that.
Because there had been children hit in that crosswalk many times. Yeah. And that's what they told us. So needless to say, when we got there, my brother and I got there, we obviously had missed the ambulances, and then it dawned on me, they said they had just taken them. So what happened was, I'm like, oh, then the light went off. It's like those 2 ambulances I passed by they were going west on Friars, I was going east, were the 2 that had Zondi and Adam in there.
Yeah.
So when we got to and they told me, and this is the part that I already knew as a physician that Zondi was no longer with us, is when they said that, on the impact, they got hit walking the crosswalk. This lady was taking her daughter to high school at Patrick Henry, right? Yeah. And she was distracted or something, and looked down and then didn't see the kids in the crosswalk and hit them. That Zondi was the first one closest to the car, so she got the impact was the greatest with her. So on the dash, her head hit the windshield and cracked it. So she was thrown 80 feet, and Adam was thrown 40 feet. And so on impact, she was basically brain dead.
Wow.
And so, once they explained that to me and I got to the ER and the doctor explained that, I already knew that she was brain dead and that, now I had to step into my physician mode and try to explain to my brother what was happening and put it to him softly, but not making sure that he could handle it, because we need to be okay for Adam's sake.
Right.
And so he didn't really wrap his head around it for a while either. It took a long time. It was a a life-changing event for all of us. For Adam, obviously for Zondi, whose life was taken, my brother's life, obviously Adam's mom, and everyone was affected, including the city, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because there was such an outpouring of support and love for the family. And even afterwards, when it was a hard decision, especially for your mom and dad, to agree to donate Zondi's organs to save many lives, that was a situation that the parents had a hard time with. It was a no-brainer for me. That was the right thing to do. 12-year-old organs can save lives. She was healthy.
Yeah.
So, you know, in the scheme of all of that, that pulled the family together even more. But the community supported us, and they were so, you know, I had patients coming to me saying that, you know, after that, I'm going to donate my organs. Because, you know, African Americans don't like to do that. Right?
No, well, that's just something that they don't understand, that
Right.
they're helping saving lives, you know,
Right.
save lives
Right.
if, you know, and I'm like, why not? Why not,
Right.
you know, save a life with those organs?
Right.
But they just don't believe that, you know,
Right.
in that. So that's something that we need to push
Bring
as
more
well.
awareness
to it.
Bring
Right.
more awareness to it, but I'm really glad that your family had the community support, especially when a young life is taken, you know, in such a tragic manner. And also, it brought awareness to that area where the city, it forced the city to do something about that. So, unfortunately, it had to take a young life in order for them to do that.
the right
But
thing.
in the end, they have that
The
stoplight
light there to save future lives.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm just more curious, Adam, just kind of laying the groundwork for the audiences. That impact was tremendous for everyone, but mostly for you. Explain to us how you coped with that. And I know you had survivor's guilt and things like that after you finally figured out what happened to Zondi. How did you cope with that?
That's a interesting question, coping with, like, you know, tragedy and coping with a loss, because it's hard and there's no I guess everybody copes in different ways, you know, and especially, you know, when you're a child, you know, figuring out.
That 11-year-old mind trying to wrap
wrap
your
your head.
your brain and the concept of you won't ever see your sister again.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's what I had to deal with, because she had been, you know, the most stable person in my life, but like with all the changes and all the moves, you know, my sister was always with me. And so now I lost the most stable part of my life, so I was like, what do we do now? I think I'd gone to a few therapy sessions with a child psychologist, which I thought was very helpful. And then I think just you know, I had a lot of support from my family, a lot of support from my friends and my school, and that really helped a lot. Just being able to talk to people about my sister and my experience, that really just helped me to open up more instead of just keeping it inside.
So you didn't shut down in any form or fashion, and can you say that going to see, you know, your therapy session, was it very, very effective? Because that's another thing that our black community do not believe in, is going to actually see a therapist or a psychologist to receive help when when you endure such a tragic event in your life. So can you say that was very effective?
Yeah, and I think that's probably one of the most effective ways I think that I was able to get through it, was the therapy, being able to talk to somebody from the outside. They don't have any judgment, they're just there to listen. And then that's what we need sometimes, just somebody to listen and talk to and get things off our chest. And I think the people around me, they didn't allow me to close up, you know, like my friends, my family, everybody was just always, they were just worried about what this experience would do to me. So they were always just pushing me just to confront my feelings and just be vocal about what's going on in my life. And so that was the biggest benefit, I would say, was a combination of going to therapy and having a psychologist there just to help me deal with my emotions that I was feeling, and then a good support at school, friends, family. That was all just instrumental in helping me to get through this incident.
And I think the one thing I remember from that is, I do remember after, because you stayed with me afterwards, as we had, you had to go to ortho. You had a major surgery on your leg because you had what they call a, what do they call it again? No. It was a compound fracture, but it was a compartmental syndrome. So they had to pretty much fillet your leg open to release all that pressure. So you were in a cast and all of that, and as you were living with me, I remember that we were talking, you had survivor's guilt. It's like, why Zondi and why not me? You know, and I had to try to make sure that I let you understand that God had his hand on all of this, and that he took her for a reason, and that was to make sure that light was there to save children. And she wanted to be a physician. She wanted to be a pediatrician. I remember that.
Wow,
and
so she knew what she wanted to be at that young age.
Exactly. And so Adam was trying to figure out, you know, in his 11-year-old mind, why her? Why not me? You know, and that's common for people that are in an accident together. They have survivor's guilt. But I had to make him understand that God spared you for a reason. That he had a purpose on this earth for you, and that you had to figure out what it was, get strong again, and step into your purpose, because you were spared for a reason. Both of you guys could have been gone that day. But there's a reason why. We don't understand the bigger picture until later. But to me, it was very clear. And so pouring into you in that regard, saying you've got to stay strong, you've got to, yes, Zondi is gone, but look how many lives she saved by, number one, having the light there, but number two, donating all her organs. She saved about 6 people's lives. And we were able to actually meet those people, which was an awesome experience. You know?
That is an awesome experience. Well, let me ask you this, Adam. At any point in your young life, did you ever get depressed?
I think I did. That was not really related to that incident though. Like my aunt was saying, you know, I did battle with the why my sister, why not me type of thing. I think anybody who faces a tragedy like that, it's like, you know, why was I saved? You know, that's kind of like what I was telling my aunt about the title that I want to appreciate the journey. Is even though I did face that tragedy, I was able to grow from it, and I was able now I have a talking point with people who've lost somebody really close to them, especially, you know, or parents who've lost a child, you know, or siblings who've lost another sibling. I can relate to them, and they it's somebody that they could talk to now because I can relate to that, you know.
Right.
But yeah, I think, you know, growing up, just with all the change and transition with my parents, I probably did go through a little bit of depression. But I think that was unrelated to the accident though. But again, I think, you know, therapy and then having somebody to talk to is just, that's the way to come out of it, I would say.
So you're saying, okay, you didn't at any point besides this the survivor's guilt of your sister dying and not you. Can you tell us can you think back to your young self what those emotions felt like? Yeah.
I think it was mostly it was a big sadness and a big void in my life not having her there. But what really helped was, like my aunt was saying, was when we got to meet the families of the organs that we donated, and just seeing the joy on their face. Kind of, it didn't like, you know, erase the fact that my sister's not here anymore, but it definitely helped a lot because they were so appreciative. And, you know, it's a tricky situation for them too, because here they are, they're receiving organs from my sister who passed away, so they want to show that they're thankful for receiving the organs, but they don't want to overstep any boundaries.
Right.
But that, I would say, meeting them did so much for my life, just seeing the happiness and the joy in their faces, that they had some more time to spend with their loved ones, you know. And I got you know, a good 11 years with my sister. I wish it was more, but, you know, I was appreciative of the time I did have with her. And actually, one of the gentlemen whose daughter, I forgot what his daughter received, like a part of her heart or a liver or something, but he reached out to me on Facebook like 5 years ago.
Wow.
And it was really cool just to talk to him. His daughter eventually ended up passing, but he got like another 3 or 4 years with his daughter because of my sister. So stuff like that was really what helped me to, you know, overcome this and not go into depression stage, because I was able to see some of the positive out of such a tragic situation.
So you actually turned the something that was so tragic into something positive. And I think that donating those organs, your sister's organs, brought joy to your heart.
Oh, it definitely did.
Okay.
Oh, it definitely did.
Yeah.
And that was, were you in the 5th or 6th grade by then? Right?
I was in the 6th grade, when that happened.
Yeah. So, so we'll transition a little bit into the school years.
Okay.
So you had an interesting time over at Lewis Middle School, but then you tell us more about the high school years and where you start off, where did you end up?
Okay, yeah. So in high school, you know, at first I started out at Patrick Henry High School. And then about halfway during that year, I got kicked out of school because I didn't live in that area. I remember the counselor just was mean and just, I'm crying because these are all my friends who I grew up with.
This is where you want to go.
Yeah,
that's where you want to continue.
With my friends, but he was just like, no, like the school was overcrowded, so they were kicking out everybody who didn't live in the area.
Wow.
And my dad had moved to El Cajon, so I had to go to El Cajon Valley for the other half of the year, and that was a big change because Patrick Henry's mix. They would bust some kids in from Southeast. Then you had like a lot of white families who lived in the area. And I went to El Cajon Valley. It was mostly blacks and Middle Eastern. So that was kind of like a changing culture for me.
So what is it? Is El Cajon? What is it? El Cajon High?
It's El Cajon Valley High School.
I don't know if I.
Yes.
Where is it on one?
I don't remember. Mollison or something?
Mollison, yeah.
Somewhere over there.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He didn't stay there long enough.
Yeah, I was only there for like half a semester. Yeah. And then I moved back with my aunt. Then I told her I wanted to go to uni, which is now Cathedral Catholic, because I had some of my friends who were going there. And I just wanted, they had a good sports team. It was a Catholic school, good education. So, luckily my aunt was like, okay. And,
She made it happen.
Yeah.
And that's his version of it, because to be honest with you, on my mom's deathbed, I promised her that I'd make sure the kids got into a Catholic school, because we were all raised Catholic. I went to Catholic school my entire life, and so that was one of her wishes on her deathbed. And so even though I could not overstep my boundaries because I was not a parent or a legal guardian, when he came back into my life and he could stay this time, then I wanted to make sure, number one, put him in a good school,
right.
Something he wanted to do, but it was really to fulfill a promise I made to my mother. So going to University of San Diego High School was a good thing. I think you were the last graduating year there.
Yeah, we were last class before they moved up to Del Mar. Now they're Cathedral Catholic.
Wow.
But yeah, it was a great high school. Taught me a lot. Prepared me to get into college, and I love that experience there.
Played some football there too.
Played football. We had a really good team.
And at this particular school, was it diverse?
No, not really. No. There was like I could probably name all the black people who went to the school. Brock, Thaddeus, Demetrius, Brandon. I could literally name all the black people who went to the school. It was a very small group of us, but we were all tight. We all hung out together. There was like one bench in front of the gym. It was called the Black Bench, where we used to all sit down and hang out. But yeah, no, it wasn't that diverse at all. But I think they wanted more diversity in the school. But yeah, it's hard.
I think cost also keeps the students away. I mean, it's Catholic school, private school, so the tuition's very high.
Yeah.
So we got a little discount because we're Catholic, and we had a parish we could say that we attended, which helped. But it's very costly. So there were diverse in terms of cultural, because there were a lot of Latinos or Hispanics coming from East Lake. And they were all
from Tijuana. They're coming from Mexico.
And some of them were affluent.
Yeah.
I mean, they had lots of money. I remember you coming home saying one of your friends had a Hummer, new Hummer. Some had new, what was it, Mercedes Benz. One of them ran it into the pool and got a new one the next month. I'm thinking, okay, we're not competing. We're not keeping up with the Joneses. Okay, we're just gonna get an education for you.
Well, see, the Hispanic community, they're Catholic, so you would. But when you see the ones that's crossing the border to come here and they come from a very, very wealthy background, you're like, wow.
Yeah. No, they were probably the richest ones at the school. But it was a lot of, I mean, it was kind of diverse, like, I guess socioeconomically. There were some people there who were there like on scholarship. I mean, there was other people there who just probably paid like the full tuition, but... Yeah, they were balling there. I wasn't one of the balling ones, but I did all right.
He made it. Yeah. So then after uni, I know you set out for college. You were not going to stay at my house if you weren't going to go to college. So tell us a little bit about your process in terms of trying to figure out what school you want to go through and what did you want to do at that point.
Yeah, at that point, like all kids going to college, like I wasn't really 100% sure what I wanted to do, but I kind of had an idea. So I started applying to schools. I think like I wanted to stay in California, but I think I applied to one out-of-state school. And at the time, I was thinking I wanted to do
Only one?
yeah. I mean, I love Cali. I didn't want to leave, you know. I think at the time, you know, I wanted to do physical therapy or sports medicine. And then I looked into Loyola Marymount because both my dad and my aunt went there. And it seemed like a cool school at first, you know. I mean, I did end up loving it, but I wasn't really like gung-ho about going there. But when I got in, I was very excited. I remember when I visited, though, I was like, oh, that's okay. But then when I finally got the acceptance letter, I was, you know, ecstatic and super excited to go. And, you know, again, another one of the big decisions of my life that helped me shape me who I am right now.
And that wasn't a very diverse campus either.
Not quite.
I
think it was
count the 30
I think it was
campus.
probably 9% African American, maybe less, maybe 1%. And actually that community there was kind of really what helped me get in touch with me, you know, being a black man. Even though we were such a small community, we were all close and bonded together. And I remember I had a lot of friends who went to school in LA. They went to like all black Catholic schools or all black schools. Then when they got to LMU, it wasn't all black anymore. And so a lot of them like had some struggles and a lot of transition being a minority. Even they've been a minority their whole life, but you know, growing up in LA or whatever, they didn't really feel like being a minority until they got to the college campus.
When you say you said that experience helped you to understand being a African American, you know, man, what do you mean by that?
Just they were really big on that campus about, you know, figuring out who you were. You know, and trying to identify, not really just put yourself into like a category, but just really identifying who you were. Like, what are you going to do for this community? How are you going to help other people? And like, who are you? You know? And so I was a part of a program called TLC, which took incoming freshmen, African American freshmen. They took them in 3 weeks before school started, and it's a program that sets you up for success because they introduce you to the president of the university, the vice president of student affairs, the head of judicial, just anybody who's anybody on that campus, you know them on a name-to-name basis. And they kind of acclimate you to what college is going to be like. But they still give you like a small community of African Americans that you could turn to. Because something that I've seen in the black community, maybe it's getting a lot better now, was there wasn't a whole bunch of networking.
Right.
And they were trying to teach us, if you want to make it, you got to know how to network, because that's what all the other students were doing. They were networking,
right?
You know, passing down notes, passing down contacts, but we weren't doing that in our community,
right?
And so that's really what this program was geared towards, was, you know, showing that you did have like a network and people there to help you out if you were struggling.
Okay, so your career choice. So going into college, was your mind already made up about what your career? And when you entered college, how did that change?
Going into college, I thought I wanted to go into physical therapy. I wanted to be around sports. I wanted to be in medicine. I thought physical therapy was like the best mix of both. But it didn't turn out that way. You know, once I got to college, I got more involved with a lot of like social justice type stuff, a lot of helping out, and then I started to see my passion wasn't in physical therapy.
So no longer no longer in sports.
Yeah.
But more like public health?
Yeah, I would say, definitely public health, and just, you know, just being more available to helping others. And then I started getting a lot involved with a service organization called Majas, and that's what really opened up my eyes to like, there's so much need in our world, and there's organizations that are trying to address these needs. So Majas just led me to doing more and more service around the LA community. I've like volunteered on Skid Row. I went to New York and did a project with homelessness, just learning about how they run their kitchens there and their shelters. And then my senior year of college, I went to South America for a week.
Wow.
Yeah, and then that's kind of what, you know, that's where I was like, this is my calling, is to help people in some shape or form.
Well, can you tell our audience what is Majas?
Majas,
Majas.
So Majas is kind of like it's a fraternity, but more geared towards service. And at LMU, they have a whole bunch of service organizations where the main thing is just go out and doing something to help the community. And so one of our focus was homelessness, and then also helping children out as well. And so that was like I said, that was what gave me the green light to like really get involved with helping out my community, was the Modest organization.
And you said that your senior year is when you went over to Ecuador. Tell us about that experience and that week, and why you end up transitioning in that direction later.
Yeah. So my school, we did trips where you went a week, went away and help somewhere. So I went down to South America. Didn't speak any Spanish. I went to this organization that tried to help kids get out of poverty. And it just touched my heart being there. Like, I couldn't speak Spanish, but I was making connections with all these kids and their families. And then being down there, I was like, this is what I'm called to do. I need to be here, So in our contract that we signed to volunteer there, it says you have to be fluent in Spanish, and I wasn't, but I was like, I'm feeling a calling here. And so after I graduated college, there was a couple months that I was off, and then I moved down to Ecuador.
So you actually moved to Ecuador?
Yeah.
Wow. So what was that like? I mean,
it was interesting, man. It was an amazing experience. One of the greatest things I've ever done in my life. I met the greatest people, just children, their families, and just all the volunteers who were there with me. Everybody was just there for the right reason. They just wanted to help. And that really helped shape me, to build a foundation of what I wanted to do later on. While I was down there, it was kind of when I figured out, like, I want to get into medicine. And then that's kind of, I started thinking about being a physician assistant while I was in Ecuador. Because I had a student who she had appendicitis, and usually, in the States you have appendicitis, you could just, have surgery.
Right.
But there, her family is indigenous, and there was some miscommunication with her father and the doctor, where he thought he could just heal her with like herbal medicine. And in this case you probably can't, And so cause she almost died a few times. They had to do like 2 emergency surgeries, and that experience really prompted me to want to get into medicine, so I could kind of be a liaison between the poor or lower socioeconomic and medicine, because I felt like there was some kind of disconnect there, because this family was receiving free health care and this doctor didn't really know how to deal with their culture.
Okay.
And that I kind of wanted to be somebody who could bridge that gap.
And you also had to help explain to the father of this student, this was one of your students at school, why it was important to let the doctor do the surgery, because he did not want that, and without that, her life would not have been safe.
Exactly.
Right. So having, number one, going there and not speaking the language, but learning the language, over the period of time, it's kind of hard to teach English in Spanish when you don't know Spanish. So you have to learn one language and then teach them your language when you were there. But you also bonded with all the families down there. And I know that really made an impact in your life and changed the direction of where you were. And I knew then you had figured out your calling and your purpose.
And that's good when you can figure out, when, like I said, you don't know why things happen to you, but they happen for a reason.
Exactly.
I was telling you that I had a lot of tragedy. I didn't know my calling, didn't know my purpose, but my true heart to heart, I feel as though God placed you where He wants you to be, not where you want to be.
Exactly.
So, like you being in Ecuador, helping them people out, that's where you were supposed to be, because that's where God placed you.
I believe that.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. So, with that, obviously you signed up for 1 year, and for some reason you decided you want to stay on the second year. You loved it so much, right?
Yeah, no, it was hard to leave, because you make a connection with these people.
Yeah.
And you're around them all the time. And so they became like family. And so at the end of my first year, I was like, there's no way I could leave them, So I stayed a second year, but the organization is smart. They only let you stay 2 years. And then like, you got to go back home, because you could get stuck down there.
Well, you actually get, you really get connected and so attached to the people that you don't want to leave.
Exactly.
Right. But in order to make a greater impact, you needed to come back and get the education that was necessary to move you to that next level. So when you came back, you focused on going back to grad school. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So when I was there, I was like, they have so much need there, and I want to help them. But I was like, I got a bachelor's degree, and what else can I do here for them? Not that much. So I was
But
like,
what, not to interrupt you, but
Mhm.
what was your bachelor's degree?
it was in natural science. I was a pre-physical therapy major.
Okay.
Yeah, and my intention was to eventually go to physical therapy school, but then I went to Ecuador.
Okay.
So yeah, so then when I was down there, I was like, I need to go back to school to make a bigger impact, and I want to go into medicine. And being a PA, it's the course to becoming a clinical provider is a lot shorter than going to med school. And so I was like, I want to be a PA. And the program that I chose did physician assistant and public health.
Wow,
And
yeah,
so,
together.
Yeah, and it was like exactly what I wanted
Yeah.
for my life. So I came back to the States, and then yeah, just I set on this journey to get a skill, a knowledge that I could bring back and help not only the people in Ecuador, but people, all over, in our
All over.
communities too, but just all over. I could go somewhere and I had like a skill or trade that I could share with them.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And so that was a dual program, so you got
Yeah.
a dual master's in public health and master's as a physician assistant?
Yeah.
Okay. And so with that, are you still having the opportunity now that you've just graduated a few months ago and you're looking for a full-time job, are you still doing some volunteer work now?
Yeah, so I'm working with this organization that goes down to Mexico like maybe once a month or once every month, and they build houses down there. And so at first, when I was first going down there, I was helping build houses, and then I started teaching English. And then now, like I said, I have a skill now, and so now I could go do medicine there.
Yeah.
So actually just this past weekend, me and one of my best friends, we went down there and we set up this health booth. I was getting some advice from my aunt about that. And we just wanted to see how things went, just to kind of see what kind of needs does this community, we're down in Tijuana, what kind of needs does this community have. And so we had a great turnout. We had about 50 to 60 people, and they all had health concerns like hypertension, diabetes, and they just wanted some more information. And we were there to kind of provide them, we couldn't be their providers down there, but we could give them information and encourage them to go see their regular providers.
Right.
But it was an amazing experience, and me and my friend were going to start trying to do that more. At least go down once a month and just set up like a little health booth where we could answer questions. We were checking blood pressures, checking their blood sugars, and then kind of just looking at what medications they're taking, and just kind of giving them advice, not really,
Just assisting them with what they can do.
Exactly.
So a shout out to Jaron.
Yeah, Jaron West, he's a PA, that's my best friend, and he's helping me do that.
And he was your best man in your wedding,
And
too.
my
One
best,
of the
and
best
one
men.
of my best men too.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
And that's my nephew, too.
Yeah.
oh, that okay.
Another
So,
nephew.
another nephew.
That I adopted. Yeah.
So, are you interested in doing that line of work here in the States and locally? Because, San Diego have a whole lot of homelessness.
Yeah.
And so, they have this really big, huge homeless event that's happening January the 31st.
Okay.
And it's huge.
Yeah.
When I say it's huge, I did it last year and I was amazed that I didn't realize that we had so many homeless, and a lot of them just don't have a lot of resources. They don't know the resources, and so as an organization, or I think that you're into this. You're into helping people.
Oh,
You're into assisting them. So I think that would be something that you and your best friend could volunteer to do as well.
I would love to, and I think there's like a certain type of joy that we get from helping the less fortunate. And
Yes.
because every time I go and do some type of work, like I just feel fulfilled. And I think it's needed because there's, for some reason or another, there's so many people who don't like going into a doctor's office or going to get checkups and stuff. So I think it's just, if you can make it easier, like going out into the community, that will just encourage them to take more control of their own health, because nobody likes going to the doctor. I don't.
Right.
But it's necessary. It's necessary.
But that brings us also. Do you want to announce our?
Well, I am going to announce it. We'll make a quick announcement. I'm just curious. Do you have any advice to anyone that's interested in going into the field of physician assistant, in terms of, what to look for, or what kind of skill sets you feel that they need to have?
I mean,
that mindset.
Yeah, I think one of the big things that a lot of PAs, doctors, nurse practitioners, a huge thing that that I've seen that patients feel that are lacking is just good communication skills and listening.
Yeah.
I feel sometimes like as providers we're so confident in who we are, and then we kind of just tell the patients, do this, do that, this is what you need to do, instead of kind of talking to the patients and educating them. So I think just being a good listener, being more humble, and knowing that, you know, healthcare isn't about demands, it's more of about a collaboration with the provider and the patient. I think that would, you know, take providers a long way. So just knowing that, you know, you're not the boss, you're just working, you're a partnership with your patient.
So you're the middle person, because I understand that nurse practitioners and physician assistants, sometimes they have a better rapport with the patients than the actual physician.
Yeah, I that's what I've seen in my experience so far. A lot of my patients they feel like, you know, PAs or NPs sometimes take more time.
Yes.
Sometimes, you know, the doctors are really busy. They have a huge patient panel.
Yes.
And so the NPs and PAs sometimes we have more time to give to the patient. That's all the patients really need, is just time to talk.
Right, and I think listening more is just being attentive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I think so.
And so your last question, and then we'll make a quick announcement and close it out there, is what are your future goals?
Future goals? Future goals is to just continue to, I guess, give back, because so many people have poured into me, and I just kind of want to pour into anybody that I can. So really just helping out my community here in San Diego, California, and then just worldwide, just being wherever God pushes me or calls me to be. I just want to be there, and I have a skill that I can give to people now. Like, I have some knowledge about medicine, so I want to share with people, educate them, and just encourage them that, you know, you can take control of your health. So I think, moving forward, you know, my passion, my goal, my calling is just to be there to help people in whatever way that they need help.
Okay, well, Facebook have a mentorship. So list yourself as wanting to mentor.
Okay. Yeah.
So look into that. They have a lot of features now.
Okay.
So and one of them is mentorship.
Oh, yeah, that'd be
So
awesome.
you know, you would actually be list yourself as a mentor, and then someone would, you know, someone will reach out that want mentorship.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
So yeah.
All right, so we're going to just make a quick announcement and then we'll close out. And basically it's just to remind the audience that we do have a monthly event, our whole health event, a monthly community outreach event, Good Health Equals Long Life, every third Wednesday of the month. The next event is going to be on January 17th, 2018. We're at the Big Lots parking lot on Federal and Euclid, 1655 Euclid Avenue. So please come out. We'll be there from 10 to 6. We have lots of services there. And what we want to do is take an opportunity to thank you, Adam, for sharing your story with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you both for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, hopefully the audience has learned something. That despite struggles and obstacles, you can still be successful and carry out God's purpose in your life. So, sis, we can roll it on.
Well, you have been listening to Many Shades of Pink and Black Health radio program on KBOKradio.com, sponsored by Many Shades of Pink. I'm your host, Wendy Sherrill, breast cancer survivor and advocate.
And I'm your co-host, Dr. Susanna Afflalo, and we had the pleasure of having our guest today, my one and only favorite nephew, Adam Afflalo, and my other nephews don't need to get jealous. A physician assistant with his master's in public health, and the topic today was Appreciate the Journey. So with that, we thank you for listening. Make sure you tune in every Sunday at 2 p.m.
For more information on breast cancer, visit the Coleman San Diego Circle of Promise website, www.colemansandiego.org.
And if you want to know a little bit more about my calling, A Healthier Me, which is a lifestyle change program, you can visit www.ahealthiermesd.com. So Merry Christmas to everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Happy Kwanzaa.
Yeah.